It is not an easy process, but y'all, at the end of the day, I would much rather 100% be on a struggle bus with God, okay, than in a place where I feel like I'm set and I'm comfortable, but God is not involved, you know? Hey everyone, and welcome in. My name is Tulu, and on this channel, I make faith-based videos to encourage you as you fight the good fight of the faith daily. Today, I figured we could sit, chat, and have a discussion related to the question of, did God really tell me to do that, or did I just make that up? Is God involved in whatever I'm doing, or is his signature missing from the line for the cosigner? As someone who desires to walk in God's will for my life, I am constantly finding myself having this internal debate of like, am I doing this because God wants me to do it and has called me to do it, or because I want to do it and it'll be beneficial for me, right? And before we get any further into this conversation, I do want to clarify that while I don't think that there's, a super strict and defined path that our lives can take, I do believe that there are certain paths that we can take that will keep us in alignment with God's will, while there are others that might take us on a major detour. Like, yes, we might end up reaching the destination eventually, but it might just take us 40 extra years than it should have. You know what I'm saying? Do y'all agree with this? Like, I'm actually really curious to know your thoughts. So please leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So lately I've been making my way through the Old Testament again as I am reading through the Bible this year. And y'all, I can't even tell you how many days in a row that I have found myself literally talking to my Bible and asking, why can't it be this easy for me? Like, there are literally chapters and chapters and chapters and books and more chapters of instructions for the Israelites on how they should live and act and build. And granted, I know that that was necessary and very important because this is essentially God establishing his relationship and his covenant with his people for the first time, But at the same time, it's like, why is it that the Israelites get these detailed books detailing everything that they should do? And nowadays, all I have to go off of from God is one word instructions, like go. Like, can I at least get the direction that we're going in? Like, a couple more words, just a couple more words would be nice, is all I'm saying. And another thing is that the Israelites never had to question if God's presence was among them. Like, they were able to physically see his presence among them. That is what it says in Numbers chapter 9, verse 16. It says, "So it was always, the cloud covered it by day," the cloud being God's presence, "and the appearance of fire by night. And whenever the cloud lifted from over the tent, after that the people of Israel set out. And in the place where the cloud settled down, there the people of Israel camped." If only it were that easy. Like, do y'all know how much time this would save? I've already asked God on all of our behalfs if we could implement a system like this again, and we're just gonna have to wait and see if he's feeling it, okay? But this has honestly been a big reoccurring question for me over the past few months, of like, am I following God's presence to wherever he's leading, or am I making him follow my lead? As some of y'all might know, if you've been around for a little bit, I quit my job a few months ago, and I have been in a transitional season ever since. Every single day I ask myself, not only the hypothetical, like, what are you doing with your life? But like, no, girl, for real. Like, what are you doing with your life? I don't know if anybody can relate to me in this, but when I'm in a season where I have a little bit of extra time on my hands, I know that it can feel like the possibilities are endless for what I can, do with the time. But at the same time, like, you kind of need to be wise with how you spend that time, because while the paychecks stopped coming in, most likely the bills have not stopped coming in. You know what I'm saying? So at a certain point, you're gonna need to start taking care of business, okay? I feel like in the past few months, as I've been trying to discern what God is calling me to next, it's been kind of tough, because I feel like what he's calling me to do, while I do enjoy doing it, it's not necessarily something that is paying my bills. You know what I'm saying? That is going to pay the rent, okay? At least not yet, anyway. And so The first couple months have been nice. I've been getting my rest. I've been working on some passion projects. But now it's like, okay, God, like, what do you want me to do that's actually going to bring in some funds, right? I was hanging out with a friend a few weeks ago, and they suggested that I look into this new career path that they thought I would be a great fit for and would eventually allow me to start making a good salary, right? When I tell y'all I was on Coursera that very same night trying to learn these skills, like I did not waste any time. I didn't. What I would usually do before jumping into something like this is spend a couple days, praying about it and asking God if this is a direction that he would want me to move in. In the past, there's been one specific instance where I did this, and I didn't start going down a new path until I spent a couple days praying about it first, right? God ended up showing me very quickly after a couple days that while I was on the right track, I was in the wrong lane, and he had a very different way in mind for getting me to where I desired to be. And as you can imagine, his way ended up being way better than I could have ever imagined. And so you'd think I would implement the same steps this time around, right? But no, this time around, I felt myself jumping right into the suggestion without really praying about it and just assuming that, the idea must have come from God because I have been, looking for my next career path, and my friend, in a very timely manner, happens to suggest this career path that we both felt like I would be a good fit for, And while yes, I do feel like I would be really good at it, I also feel like it sounded more appealing because of the future earning potential. As I've been going through the course for the past, 2, 3, 4 weeks, I feel like God has been asking me like, Tulu, did I approve of this? And I'm just sitting here like, what do you mean? Like, I thought you're the one that came up with the idea in the first place, right? He didn't respond to that, but then a couple of days ago, I get an image in my head as I'm going through the course material, and it's essentially an image of me returning back to Egypt, which, this is probably because I'm reading, in the Old Testament right now, but if you're familiar with the story of the Israelites, they were in Egypt as slaves for 400 years, and that is where God rescues them from and takes them through the Red Sea and brings them into freedom, right? You would think that once they experience freedom with God, they would happily put their past lives behind them, right? But it's astounding how many times they end up grumbling against God and saying, why did they have to come out of Egypt? They would have much rather stayed in Egypt because at least there they had, steady food, steady water, and didn't have to worry about the inconsistencies of those things. Every time this happened in the Bible, I would always get so upset with the Israelites and always feel so embarrassed by them. But then this is exactly what I feel like God was telling me that I would be doing if I pursued this new career path. Because while it is, different from what I was doing before, it's basically tech adjacent. And so it's essentially going back there, basically. Yes, it would provide the financial stability and pay my rent, put food on the table, but it would also probably take me back to a place that, had me miserable and anxious, and that led me to quit in the first place. If I'm being honest with myself and y'all, I think I was really so ready to jump at this opportunity because of a fear that, if I didn't start something ASAP and try to take back some control over my life, then I had no idea how my basic needs were going to be taken care of, come the next few months. And so I was essentially willing to go back to Egypt to ensure that that wasn't the case. If there is one way to know if God is involved in a thing, I'd say to analyze, what is moving you in a direction. If fear is what's moving you in a direction, I can almost 100% guarantee you that it is not God's hand that is moving you towards that direction. The Bible says that God does not give us a spirit of fear, okay? But he gives us a spirit of power and of love and of self-control. I had to take a step back from this course and ask God to help shift my focus away from all the unknowns of the future, which I still don't know how they're going to be taken care of, right? And shift my focus back not only on him, but on what he's called me to do in this season. It is not an easy process, but Y'all, at the end of the day, I would much rather 100% be on a struggle bus with God, okay, than in a place where I feel like I'm set and I'm comfortable, but God is not involved, you know? So that's the first way I try to discern if God is involved in whatever I'm doing. You know, like, is it motivated by fear? If so, then probably not. On the other hand, if you're moving in a direction and you just feel like you are full of God's peace, then that's a good sign that God's hand is in it, you know? Not only is God not a God of fear, but he's also not a God of confusion, okay? But he is a God of peace. That's what it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33. If it's bringing you a lot of confusion and causing you anxiety, then I'd advise to, take it back to the drawing board and double, triple confirm with God if this is the direction that he wants you to be going. Taking this time to confirm the route will save not only a lot of time, but a lot of frustration in the future, okay? I can guarantee that. So this would be my second way to discern if God is involved in whatever I'm doing, if it's full of his peace. And lastly, the third way I've seen whether God is involved in something versus when he's not is if there's almost like this supernatural sense of favor accompanying it. Every time I felt like God has moved and has guided me in a direction, it's truly felt like he has been holding the door open for me and all I needed to do was walk through it, like no effort to open it. Or it's felt like the bag was just sitting on the floor and all I needed to do was go pick it up. I didn't have to do anything to secure the bag. I didn't. I found that every time I've had to expend this, massive amount of effort and energy, not to say like I haven't had to work hard for things, but like every time I've had to like really try hard to make something work, almost as if I'm forcing it, not only does it usually not work out, but if it does, it is short-lived and it usually ends with a very large crash. In my experience, when God's gonna do something, he's gonna make it so easy and there's gonna be so much favor leading into it, okay? So hopefully y'all can assess your current situation and see if that's what's happening. And if not, it might yet again be a good time to take it back to the drawing board, okay? Y'all, trying to discern where God is leading us can be so hard sometimes, and I definitely don't want to make it seem like I have it all figured out, because it's really just not the case. But, asking myself these three questions of, is it being motivated by fear? Do I feel God's peace in it? And am I basically having to force the situation, or is it coming easily? Those have really helped me to get a clear idea of whether God is in it or not. I hope this video encouraged you if you're in a similar situation as me, and I hope it gave you some clear ways on how to discern if God is not only involved in your situation, but in the lead as well. Let me know in the comments down below which area, if any, that you're currently seeking God's direction in. I'm sure you'll find that you're definitely not alone in that. And until next time, let's keep fighting the good fight of the faith, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.